All right. So today you'll hear from myself and Yair Weinberger, our co-founder and CTO. He has been with Alooma for the last 3 years and been involved in data pipelines for the last 15. So today we're going to quickly go through some of the marketing trends and shifts and challenges that we're facing as marketers. Then we'll hand it over to Yair, who will take us through data pipelines for marketing, use cases that we're seeing, and best practices. All right, so it should be no surprise to anyone on the line that data matters. So it really is the #1 priority for marketing departments. And for me specifically, it is the #1 thing that I am gold on. So my job is to market, to bring a product to market, to drive revenue. And I'm required to map and account for marketing spend to show a return on investment. And I need data in order to do this. So every day I log into more and more tools and platforms, web portals to get bits and pieces of data. I download, scrub, convert, and upload to different areas, try to do as many pivot tables as possible in an effort to better understand my marketing spend to ROI, as well as understanding the full customer journey and being able to answer the question of the total cost of acquisition and retention. And this not only creates inefficiencies within my marketing organization, but also a data infrastructure nightmare. Just being able to connect everything, put everything into one place is it's difficult with the numerous amounts of applications and data sources that are out there. So the top 3 challenges that data-driven marketers are facing today is #1, variety. So there are countless tools, platforms, and sources that we use and or could use at any moment, creating lots of different data silos. So #2 is access. There's a huge lack of access to raw data. Most of the time I'm dealing with aggregate data and ultimately creating missed opportunities. If you don't have all of the data in one place or it's not all speaking the same language, it's hard to make data-driven decisions, leaving either money on the table or inaccurate conclusions. So as I came on board here at Alooma, I was going through all of these different challenges and trying to sort out how do we make things more efficient, how do we streamline things, and how do we make sure that we're delivering the right information at the right time to our customers. And so with that, I'll hand it over to Yair, who will kind of walk us through how we've addressed those challenges, both internally for ourselves as well as for some of our customers. Yair?
Thanks, Tasha. So we started with trying to think of what are the marketing best practices, or what is our dream as marketers in our data in order to be able to derive the right conclusion. And we came out with 4 pretty simple principles. The first one is to have a single ID across all channels. So every user should have an ID, and even if on 2 different systems they might have 2 different IDs, these IDs should be joinable. So there should be one place that can connect IDs between different places, and this is crucial in order to enable the multi-touch type of marketing that Tasha is going to show later. And then the second part is just collect all raw data. Unfortunately, many of the marketing platforms today provide only access to dashboard and aggregated data. And with aggregated data, first, it's of course unable to be joined with, it's very hard to join with different data from different sources, because if it's not aggregated according to the same parameters exactly, that there is no way to join it. And then even worse than that, it's impossible to slice and dice by any different parameter that was not pre-aggregated by. So the key #2 best practice is just get all of the raw data from any platform. And then, of course, we need to define the KPIs. What are we going to measure? How are we going to measure that? And how are we going to measure our goals? How are we going to know what are we going to invest in? And lastly, we see that real-time response is well, it's powering anything in this world today, but especially marketing. So when we enable real-time response to our marketing force, and more importantly, even to our sales force, to our salespeople, they can actually get much better results. So single ID, all raw data in real time, and the good KPIs are our key things to success with building our Alooma's marketing platform. So in order to get all of these, essentially what we need is a data pipeline. And because if we want raw data, and if we want the single IDs, and if we want to join them all, we cannot just log into all the different platforms and copy paste data to Excel. So we need to build a data pipeline that can get this data from wherever it's being generated and just push it into where we want to query it. And then when we build the data pipeline, what do we need? So again, we start to think, okay, we are going to build a data pipeline. We have multiple integrations. We need to be able to connect to all the different data sources. We need to be able to transform the data. So sometimes data from one source does not come. It's a convenient format to join with data from a different source. So we might need to be able to transform and enrich the data before it's actually ready for analytics. And then we need to be able to handle any errors or any changes that happen in the data without stopping the pipe, because of course we still want, even if we have some event that causes an error, we want to be able to still get our reports in time and get a real-time response, and maybe at least in the best effort manner. So maybe this event will not be included, but that's okay. And then as the business grows, two things that are becoming more increasingly important is scale in real time. So, most businesses start with a very small scale, very small number of events, but as the business grows, the scale becomes more and more important and more difficult. And the reason I mention this is because in many of the companies that we see as Alooma, they start building a very simple pipeline. They start by, okay, we have this server, we run some scripts, these scripts work, they push the data. Unfortunately, this approach it works at the beginning, actually. It's a very good approach to start with, but as the business grows, it just breaks. And when it breaks, it actually tends to break at the worst time where the data is needed the most. And another thing that becomes increasingly important as the business grows is getting the data ready in real time. And this is actually a conflict because we are usually pushing our data into some kind of an analytics database, and I'll talk more about these later, but let's say we're pushing it to Google BigQuery or Amazon Redshift or Snowflake. All of these databases actually like the data to be inserted in big chunks, in bulks, and this contradicts real time to some extent. So if we want to be able to keep our data easily queryable, so in these databases, and be able to access in real time, this also causes some difficulties in implementation. And with that problem in mind, we set out to build Alooma. So Alooma is a data pipeline as a service company, and the sole goal in mind is to enable access to all kinds of different data at scale and in real time. With the ability to actually power the business without investing too much engineering resources in building and maintaining these pipelines in-house. And Alooma is, the 30,000-foot view is very simple. We integrate with many different data sources, pretty much everything under the sun. We had tens of different sources every month, and we get all of these the data from all of these sources into our data pipeline, where it can be transformed, it can be enriched, and errors can be handled in a smart way. And from there, it will get to a data warehouse in a near real-time, seamless way. And when I'm saying near real-time, it's not milliseconds. It's not powering a high-frequency trading application, but for analytics, we treat real-time usually as a matter of minutes. So let's say 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That's near real-time for analytics use cases. And that's the latency we are trying to achieve with Alooma as well. And then on top of it, anyone can hook their own analytics or BI tools and get access to the data. So instead of downloading data from different dashboards, copy-pasting into Excel, and then trying to make sense of it, these are a predefined set of queries or dashboards that the user can just look at in the analytics platform. So for example, our marketers in Alooma, what they do is they log in daily to this platform and they just slice and dice the data however they need. Let's dive a little bit deeper and see what's under the hood for Alooma. And what's unique about Alooma than pretty much any other pipeline that you can either build in-house or you can get in the market. So like I said, all of these integrations push data into what we call Alooma Queue. Alooma actually is using Apache Kafka under the hood, and what's nice about it is that we get all of the Apache Kafka guarantees, and this is a great tool. So, for example, we can guarantee that we don't lose any data, which is a very important thing if you want to build a pipeline for data. And from there, it goes into Alooma processing steps, and there are essentially two basic steps if we try to make it simpler. And one step is what we call the code engine, so where the data is being transformed and enriched, and then the other step is where it's being mapped into a data warehouse, because not always the data is schema. So Alooma will try to either import the schema. Let's say we get data from Salesforce or Marketo into data warehouse. It has schema in the source. So Alooma will just copy over that schema in the mapper. So the mapper is pretty dumb there. However, if we get data from clickstream data or data that doesn't have a schema but can keep changing, that sometimes can be a very hard problem to actually push it into the correct column types and the correct place in a data warehouse. And that's where the mapper's power come into play, where Alooma will automatically look at the data distribution inside. We'll try to automatically understand what this data means. Is it a timestamp? Is it a string? How long is that string? Is it maybe a JSON object? Is it a number? And then push to the appropriate columns. And of course, if the schema changes over time, because schemas are not static, this part also is responsible for automatically amending the schema on the data warehouse to the source schema. The last part, which I think is also unique, is what we call the restream queue, and this is how we handle errors. So we try to take any error that happens in the pipe and take only the erroneous event, only the event that could not be pushed correctly, and put it in a specific queue of its own, where it's ready for analysis to understand what exactly caused this error, to get specific samples of these events. And then either, that's why it's called the restream queue, either restream them into the pipe or just drop them or do anything with them. So this is just a snapshot of Alooma's code engine, and this is actually a sample from Alooma's pipeline. We heavily dogfood our own product, and we use it extensively, and I'll also show some examples of how we use it in-house to power sales and marketing. In this case, it's being enriched by GeoIP. So every row that comes into the pipe will have an IP address attached to it, and what we try to do is enrich it in this specific code snippet that is on the screen, enrich it with country and city and region as it's going through the stream. And as you can see, we can also get samples, and we can run tests on these samples and see the result. And what's even more important is it hooks up into GitHub and continuous integration processes, so no one really needs to edit code in the browser. Anyone can write their code in their own IDE and then push it to Alooma while testing on data from the live stream. And that's actually even more important because what we see when people are building data pipelines in-house is that they are unable to test them. They usually have a data set that they can test on. It's usually stale data that came a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 months ago, and every time a new version of the pipeline is released, it's being tested on that data. However, with Alooma, it's actually the test process can grab live samples from the stream, and instead of deploying to production and praying, actually be sure that what you deploy to production works. Another piece I wanted to showcase is the restream queue or the restream analysis. So this is an overview of how the restream looks like, and it contains all the events that had an error. These events are searchable, so you can run any query, filter them, slice and dice them by where they came from, what event type, what was the error, and then just fix the error. So in that case, it's varchar too long, so this is actually data that's being pushed into Redshift, and as you can see, Redshift maximum column size is 65,000, 65K, but some fields are longer than that. So there are a few options here. One option is just these. We can see that they come as a stringified JSON. So one option is just to split this JSON into fields and then push them into different columns. Another option is to truncate or to drop it. But all of this data is not lost. It's available in the registering queue while not stopping correct events from coming through as well. And in reality, when dealing with data that changes all the time, we find that as, I think, one of the key features that helps us deal with our data and also all of our customers. I want to go over a couple of use cases from our customers, and specifically marketing use cases of how they use Alooma to power their own data analytics and marketing platforms. So the first one is Publicis. And Publicis are one of the biggest media agencies in the world. They're a publicly traded company, over $15 billion in market cap, and they have all of the Fortune 100 customers. So companies like BMW and Pfizer and Renault are all running their marketing through Publicis as a media agency. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to provide a pipeline for their customers. So they wanted to give their customers visibility to the marketing data so that they could be both transparent and show them, what works, what doesn't work. And in that case, it's even more difficult than the normal marketer job, because if, let's say, a normal marketer doesn't have a data pipeline, can just log into Google Analytics, log into different ads platform and see the dashboards, BMW or one other of Publicis customers, they cannot even do that because Publicis are managing all that for them. So they have zero transparency if there isn't a data pipeline that can actually show the data. And what Publicis built with Alooma is a data pipeline that can provide their customers with near real-time visibility that pushes the data to different data warehouses. So for example, BMW will get their own data warehouse and Renault will get their own data warehouse. And then Publicis are just managing all that and deciding which data goes to where. And eventually data is accessible in Tableau in almost near real time. And I think that it enabled Publicis to provide much better transparency for their customers and also improve their business significantly. The other customer story I want to talk about is Invoice2go. And Invoice2go are a small business invoicing company. They serve over 250,000 small businesses. And they have a very low annual revenue for each one. So if Publicis are serving Fortune 500 companies and getting millions of dollars for each one, Invoice2go are getting, in the order of magnitude of few tens of dollars per year for each customer. So in that case, the acquisition cost analysis and understanding which channels works and which channels does not work is super important because each customer is not worth too much. So you cannot spend too much money on acquiring them. And they use over 40 different marketing partners and platform and channels in order to be able to have this amazing reach of 250,000 small businesses. However, the problem they were facing is, again, each one of these channels gave them a report in a different format, in a different way. The data was only aggregated. There was no way to join the data, and they could actually not figure out what works and what doesn't work. And what they did is they just built with Alooma a pipeline that they can get, they can onboard a new marketing partner in less than an hour. So adding the code engine, the specific transform that would parse the report that's coming from this new partner, and then they can also put all of the different marketing channel reports into the same canonical format so that they all can be joined. And then now they have almost real-time visibility into, again, what works and what doesn't work. And if they add a new marketing channel, they can tell almost immediately if it's ROI positive or not, and which channels they should pour more money on and which channels they should shut down. So essentially, they have built with Alooma, using Alooma's data pipeline, a very smart marketing machines, which, again, according to Bob, who worked in many different data companies, he have never had access to such a variety of data in almost in real time. I want to follow up by two stories of how we use it internally. So how we use our pipeline internally in Alooma to power our sales and marketing organization. And the first one is what we call the sales bot. And this is actually a little bit more of a advanced usage, let's say. So what we want to do is we want to empower our sales team with real-time insights about what their prospects and customers are doing. In order to do that, we ingest data from all of these different places. So Salesforce, Marketo, our own website in Clickstream, our own application. So the monitoring is actually our own application logs, the Alooma application logs, and Zendesk, our support tool. And then we take all of these, we move them into Alooma in near real time, move them into Redshift, and then on top of that, we have a process, a Python process that would query the data in Redshift. And again, the data is coming in already transformed and ready for a query, and post to Slack interesting facts. So for example, one of our customers, these are of course fake names, added an input and had some kind of an error, so he didn't set it up correctly. It pings the correct AE. The AE can then look at their system. He can just pick up the phone and call them, hey, I see you're having trouble connecting your input. Maybe you want the help of one of our engineers to set it up. And if we can actually foresee these problems ahead of time before the customer even contacts support or asks us a question, this actually provides them with a lot of confidence in the platform and in the way that the value that it can give them. And then another very common use case for that is if someone is actually visiting our website. So for example, the last one, we can actually see which pages did they visit in our website. Did they read the docs? When they failed to add an input, did they read documentation? Did they try something else? And again, is that an existing account? Is that a prospect? Is that an account that we really want to take good care of? Of course, we want to take good care of all of our accounts, but some of them are higher tier than others and are paying more for a higher tier of support. And this all is posted to Slack in near real time. And the second use case is actually Tasha is using it, so I'll let her do the talking.
Yes. So internally, once we got all of the marketing and sales and website data into one place, the next obstacle was making it useful. So a lot of the different tools such as Salesforce, they don't really roll things up to the account level. You see things on an individual basis. And so we built an internal tool called Alooma Timeline, and it pulls in all of the relevant information that's related to an account. It'll pull in the industry, the number of employees, the ARR, or the quote amount. And we highlight key moments, which is what I have it filtered on here. So we can see these are the milestones that we feel are important throughout the customer journey. Then I can also filter out the web. Is there high traffic of web before and after a quote, or how much web traffic is happening after we win a deal? And we can see also sales trends. I can look at different marketing. And so for me, I love to look at not only the key moments, but also the marketing, so I can understand at what point do certain marketing activities relate to key moments? Do they continue after they have won to still kind of attend different webinars, join in different discussions and polls, open emails, take surveys, and things of that nature? And it really helps us understand the total customer journey on a timeline, and we can better understand how to deliver the right message at the right time. And with that, we'd love to open it up for questions. So if you want, feel free to fill out the question in the question box on the right-hand side. It looks like we have one. So this one's for Yair. What data warehouses does Alooma work with?
Yeah, so we work with all large cloud data warehouses, so BigQuery, Snowflake, Redshift, and then we also work with MemSQL and MySQL for on-premise data warehouses.
Okay. Another one, and what's the biggest difficulty? Why not just do this in-house?
Yeah, so I think building it in-house is definitely possible, and especially when companies are very small, that even might be the right decision because the scale of the data is very low and the variety is very low. But I think as the variety increases and the scale increases, it's becoming increasingly difficult to keep up with all the different APIs and all the different integrations, and then the increasing scale as well in-house, while maintaining a good quality of the data and maintaining the data coming in real time. And I mean, I've built it myself in-house for almost 15 years in different places, and